The lowest that you pay is probably $65 a month.
Okay.
But the highest you pay can be up to like $40,000 a year.
Mechanics also have to purchase the scan tool itself. Dealer technicians tend to use one that's made by the automaker, while independent shops may use that too, or one that was not made by the car manufacturer. That's called an aftermarket scan tool.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, the current state of the automotive repair industry has been making a major shakeup for the last couple of years. I've one content creator that has been on this issue for a number of videos, and as also an automotive analyst, I can't help but notice how the ongoing mechanic shortage is colliding with the increasing complexity of modern vehicles, especially now with EVs and autonomous cars on the verge of a complete takeover. Dealerships and automakers will tighten their grip on maintenance and repairs, but for mechanics, it's the same old battle. Low wages, high cost for tools, poor working conditions, and a disrespect from the entire industry. We will take another deep dive into how the car repair market treats its caretakers. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to keep up with what is happening. And if you have to leave before the end of this particular video, please, with all due respect, hit that thumbs up button. The algorithm will really appreciate it. Today's feature video is from Fox 32 Chicago. We're going to go right into this, and with all due respect again, please do not hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments. Let's get into this.
My father opened the shop in 1982, and I've been here on and off, I'd say, since I was a little kid.
George Geropoulos and his brother Chris now own and run Guss's Auto Clinic on Chicago's northwest side. It's that family-owned touch they provide that keeps John Peterson coming back. He's been a customer here for nearly 25 years.
When can you bring it in?
Whatever. What do you got open?
Thursday or Friday this week.
I just don't want to deal with the dealers if I don't have to. And then my cars run like new here.
But consumers like John may soon have to take their cars to the dealer instead of a local shop like Ted's, depending on what kind of repair work needs to be done and how new your car is.
And it mentioned car repair service that has been operating for over 25 years. And that's the thing. Men and women build the families. Families build the community. And the community build the nation. We have lost all essence of that and respect. And when you're in the auto repair industry, it is based on customer relationship. There's nothing else to it. Everyone in and around that particular community actually knows each other. It's not like now where we're complete strangers just walking past each and every one. And this is facilitated by the current leadership regime we have. We've gotten very desensitized having that human touch anymore with the gender war and everything else going on. But let's not digress. We're here to talk about cars, but we can't but help understand and try to pinpoint the fact that the current social dilemma we're facing on an everyday basis have seeped into a number of our everyday industries and the way how we communicate and transact business with each other. Let's continue.
As time goes by, we have to focus more on cars that we can actually service and turn away work on ones that we cannot. And a lot of the reasons that we cannot service the cars is because of financial restraints.
After the auto world saw in 2015 how hackers could remotely control a Jeep Cherokee as someone was driving it, automakers changed gears on how mechanics can access a car's computer. That change came at a big price for some independent shops.
If a certain manufacturer requires a $40,000 a year subscription, we're just not going to service those cars because we don't have enough volume of that specific vehicle to afford the subscription.
The subscription is for the software to use what's called a scan tool. A mechanic hooks it up to the gateway computer in a consumer's car. The gateway computer manages all of the car's various electrical systems. Once in place, the scan tool reads the various codes to tell the technician what needs to be fixed. Depending on what type of car you're working on, George says a monthly subscription fee can cost him hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
I'd say that
Let's pause again right there, because some shops facing this huge financial obstacle just to keep up. We're talking about a $40,000 yearly subscription for diagnostic tools. That's absolutely ridiculous. And that's an enormous burden for independent garages, many of which can't justify their expenses. Dealerships, on the other hand, can spread these costs over a larger customer base and leverage automaker resources to keep control over the technology. It's all about the vehicle's gateway computer system, and this little piece of tech has turned the industry upside down, and it's not going away. Just to think that under 10 to 15 years, a diagnostic tool used to be larger than a 80-inch box, looking something similar like this. We're looking at it at the screen here, and this is the original OBD1. Then the smaller OBD2, now with laptops and handheld machines. Cars are even more computerized, with fewer local mechanics that can access the data needed to fix them. So independent shops are being forced to turn away business because they can't afford these specialized tools anymore, much less the training. So it's either people are going to hold on to their old cars much longer, or they're going to get married to a dealership without the possibility of a divorce, with a prenup being a one-way deal. Let's continue.
the lowest that you pay is probably $65 a month.
Okay.
But the highest you pay can be up to like $40,000 a year.
Mechanics also have to purchase the scan tool itself. Dealer technicians tend to use one that's made by the automaker, while independent shops may use that too, or one that was not made by the car manufacturer. That's called an aftermarket scan tool.
The purchase price of this is typically around $4,000 to $5,000 for the tool itself.
The scan tool George just showed us is also called a universal tool because it can work on more than one type of car, but not all of them, which means mechanics may need to purchase several scan tools depending on how many different makes and models they work on. Another expense is the time and money many shops also need to spend to get their technicians trained on how to use this equipment.
I believe right now there are a lot of shops, especially small shops, that these are newer issues for them.
Jeff Cox is the president of the Automotive Maintenance and Repair Association. It works with independent shops, auto regulators, and legislators to create repair standards to help make sure consumers are not paying for service work their cars don't need.
I don't think a lot of consumers know that this is an issue yet. The vehicles that have the secure gateway, fairly new vehicles.
Cox says that's because these newer vehicles often don't need any major repairs for the first few years. We spoke with several different consumer automotive experts for this story. They told us the newer cars with gateway computers were built starting around 2017 and 18, but do not include all makes and models. Right now, you can find them in certain Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Nissan vehicles, with Hyundai and Kia to be next.
The automotive.
No, the thing is, you have to also look at the technology that is evolving, and with electric vehicles coming on stream, it is going to have fewer moving parts and far less components to actually work on. And mechanics will now be moving into the realm of being electricians to actually diagnose and to fix circuitry in a lot of these fast-moving, paced, technologically advanced cars. What they are just large computers on wheels. We haven't even gone over the fact of the Chinese-made electric vehicles. I was looking at a particular channel, I think it was the China Observer, and that channel goes in depth into what is happening in the Chinese EV market, and it's astonishing to see the feedback that a lot of those customers have when they have to bring their cars back to that particular BYD dealership or Neo dealership. They're about to have some of those items repaired on the particular vehicle. Let's continue.
The aftermarket is about 200,000 shops nationwide, and there are many more shops in the aftermarket than there is on the dealership side. So if you start to squeeze down on the aftermarket, consumers are really going to feel that.
Well, you can still take your car to a local shop for something basic like an oil change. Other simple repairs might not be so simple. Part of the reason why these easy jobs can now be hard to do has to do with how good are your mechanics' computer skills.
Now you need to know a lot more, and you need to know how the computer
the computers on the vehicle are communicating with each other, and that's a segment that we refer to as vehicle communication.
Ira Siegel is the Automotive Technology Program Coordinator at Moraine Valley Community College. He says these days, you can't be a mechanic if you don't know computers, especially this one.
And they use that scan tool in every one of our courses, as everything on the vehicle is controlled by electronics and electronic control modules, so they need to understand how to use that diagnostic scan.
And I just recently had interviews, my live interviews. You need to check them out. Appraisal Pro, Corey Hewitt is one comes to mind, and they tell you about their particular diagnostic tool that goes in depth to read the codes and tell you exactly what the codes are. So more and more of these aftermarket tools are coming out. Big data, big tech companies, mechanical engineers, software engineers are actually coming up with ideas to get into the facets of these components where electric vehicles and more advanced vehicles are concerned. Also, we have to take into consideration is that there is a mechanic shortage. Fewer young technicians entering the field. So as experienced mechanics are retiring, the demand for high-tech skills is going to increase and the gap is widening. At the same time, new vehicle designs, many featuring complex computer systems and electric vehicles require mechanics to have advanced skills, as they're mentioning here, that go far beyond just wrench turning. And this shortage is not just about the manpower, it's about the specialized training that modern vehicles are going to demand. Let's continue.
Unfortunately, computer skills aren't something all current mechanics have in their toolbox.
We've been a very graying industry. We're seeing more and more young technicians come into this field where they didn't want to be labeled as a grease monkey doing regular service repair, who were really interested in the IT side.
Donnie Cipher is Executive Officer for the National Automotive Safety Task Force, or NASTF. His organization helps technicians who are having difficulty accessing the gateway computers even when they have the right equipment and training.
NASTF was designed by the automakers and the independent aftermarket as the mediator, the moderator between them, the technical entity that could explain to each side what the other one was trying to accomplish.
He says overall, automakers don't want to see the independent shops go out of business.
They don't have enough dealerships to service all their vehicles. But what they're also not good at is teaching us all of the little steps involved in working with dealership tools the same way that the dealers do.
Cipher says better education is needed to solve mechanics' issues with accessing and being able to use a gateway computer, but George says not so fast.
But it all depends on the region. In some countries where I'm from originally in Jamaica, there was one dealership for the entire island, but we didn't have like sub dealers in and around. So what we did was to give license to satellite depots or authorized service agents, and we will actually extend a hand, go there, train them, have their mechanics come to the dealership, and then we'll give out the necessary information and add tools and training to have them up to speed. I suspect that as time goes by and you will have less shops, then he's absolutely correct here. There are not going to be enough dealerships in some regions to actually affect repairs on the necessary vehicles. But with all of these different associations coming about now, trying to facilitate the mechanic repair industry, the most important thing that they're not actually looking at is how do you make it attractive and lucrative for the younger generation to come in particularly the wages. That's a big eyesore right there. And most mechanics you speak to, they will tell you that it's a back-breaking job and the compensation is not looking at the aspect of the amount of work that goes into repairing these cars, much less the amount of time it takes to get to a certain level of competence in terms of the experience to be earning what the industry is offering them right now. Let's continue.
At least monthly, we go to training classes for the new technology that's emerging. The problem lies in the fact that we can't keep up with the subscriptions and all the hardware that's needed to fix these cars, especially as a smaller facility.
Which is why Cipher says the next step for the independent shops is to start specializing in the repairs that they do, just like doctors do.
Our biggest problem is that we are asking way too much from a single individual to know. I think we're now saying there's 14 systems on the vehicle. Doctors don't specialize in 14 systems. yet we're asking technicians to do that.
Tommy Oliva is among the first shops to start specializing in a certain type of repair work. His specialty is automotive diagnostics.
Diagnostic basically means when you have a malfunction, any of the lights on, whether it's the check engine light or any of the stability or airbag lights on, that's typically electrical failures, and that's what we specialize in.
While computers are often known...
This is nothing new. What this is basically exposing is that mainstream media has now just caught on to what we've been saying for the last, 10, 15, 20 years. And it's good for them, and I commend the fact that it's never too late for them to go into the local shops and start interviewing the real people, interviewing the mechanics. The specialized diagnostic repair shops have been around, such as guys who only do oil change and brake servicing and windshield replacement and windows, mirrors. You're talking about guys who specialize in auto body repairs and collision. The guys who specialize in just tires, changing, balancing, tire repair services. You're talking about guys who only do upholstering, detailing. There's so many different facets and subsets coming from the automotive industry. I haven't even touched on shock absorbers, touched on brakes already, but you're talking about transmission repairs, gearbox repairs, air conditioning repairs, alternator and starter repairs. So many different things where the vehicle is concerned. And then you have the guys who do and specialize in aftermarket accessories. There are a lot of components where the automotive sector, the automotive market created lots of niches for people to get into and actually have businesses. Before I actually am going off, it's just that I'm super passionate about the industry. Dealership service department will always have exclusive access to manufacturer provided tools and software, and they will dominate the car maintenance market. This will make the independent shops look for niche repairs as the market becomes computerized and electrified. Some automakers are pushing subscription models for some advanced diagnostic, effectively monopolizing total repairs. BMW comes to mind with their heated seat subscription services. But the thing is, only automakers and big tech data companies directly benefit, as these are purchased directly into the vehicle and managed by a third party. The control is reinforced by automaker policies that prevent access to repair data, making it increasingly difficult for independent mechanics to actually compete. Let's finish up this video.
For making work faster or easier, Oliva says that's not always the case when it comes to cars.
No, it's actually worse now.
Oliva says most vehicles talk on a data network.
So now you can have one failure in one module cause a variety of different failures in other modules. So now you have to spend time dissecting the entire network, and every manufacturer has different, lingo.
Just like when your doctor sends you to see a specialist, it can cost you more. Oliva says many consumers don't understand the cost involved when diagnosing your car.
Some of these vehicles require 6, 7, 8 hours of diagnostic time. We're expected to know everything, but yet in terms of our trade, we're still the least paid per hour.
Legislation regarding this issue has been introduced on both the federal and state levels. The Repair Act was introduced in Congress in 2023. The goal to require manufacturers to allow consumers to be able to access data from their cars so they can have them repaired at independent shops. A similar bill was also introduced in the Illinois Senate in January. Until either bill passes, consumers may be in for a rough ride.
We're seeing steady enrollment in our classes, but it's still not enough to meet the needs of our employers in our area.
So they did mention the Repair Act of 2023, but until then, consumers could be in for a more expensive dealership-dominated repair world with limited options for affordable maintenance outside of the manufacturer's ecosystem that they already set up. Now, to make matters worse, cars are becoming more like rolling computers. What once took a quick check under the hood now require hours of diagnostic work, and even minor glitches can ripple through the car's systems altogether. So while modern tech is supposed to make life easier in the automotive industry, it's doing the opposite for both consumers and mechanics alike. So in summary and ending, we're watching an industry that continues to transform. Things have swung back to the automakers and the dealerships, having more power than they had ever before. The mechanic shortage and tech complexity mean that independent garages and shops will either need to be specializing or face extinction. Your friendly neighborhood mechanic will soon be a thing of the past. as usual, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to grab a copy of my ebook, The Parts Manager Guide. Please smash that like button on your way out. It will only take you 1.5 seconds to do so. Until next time.